Say howdy, stay rowdy. Hey y'all, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be showing you how I made this adorable dumpster fire tumbler. You'll be able to find all of my discount codes in the description. Let's get started. I'm using a 30-ounce skinny from Makerflo. I like to use this medium 80 grit drywall sandpaper. I buy the sheets and then I'll cut it into this little rectangle, and we are going to prep our tumbler. So we're gonna give this a good sand, and once I'm done sanding, I take my 70% isopropyl alcohol and spray the tumbler and wipe it down. Once I've wiped my tumbler down thoroughly, I'm ready to move on to the next step. The vinyl I'll be using is Everything is Fine by K. Hobbs Designs. I love this vinyl so much. Where are all my dumpster fires? I know I'm not the only one. You can also find the matching decal on her website. Let's map out where I want to place my vinyl. I start off by wrapping the vinyl around my tumbler and start eyeballing it to see where I want to make my cut. I think I'm gonna do half the cup vinyl, and then I eyeball where I'm gonna place the decal. Now that I have an idea of where I want to cut my vinyl, I'm gonna grab a pin and we're gonna mark where I need to cut the vinyl. I was trying to show you, but unfortunately my camera wasn't picking up on it, so I slid the vinyl up and then you can see that black line. That's where I'm going to cut the vinyl. Using my paper cutter, I am going to trace the black line that I drew and cut my vinyl. After I cut my vinyl, I'm going to wrap it around my tumbler. And you'll see that I have a pretty large overlap, so I'm going to make one more cut. After adjusting my vinyl, you'll see that I eyeball the decal one more time to make sure that this is coming together how I want it to. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm gonna take my pin and draw another black line where I wanna cut it. Now you do want a little bit of an overlap, but you don't want a large overlap. So after making my mark, I try to show you that there is just a little bit of an overlap. And then I will repeat the process by using my paper cutter to trace that black line. Now that I've made that cut, I am going to wrap it around my tumbler one more time and make sure that everything lines up. Everything lines up and my overlap is perfect, so now I'm ready to apply my vinyl. I wrap the vinyl around my cup, then I'm going to use the hinge method. So I'm going to peel part of the paper backing. And I ain't gonna lie to you, in true dumpster fire fashion, I made this extremely harder than it needed to be. You can see that I'm holding the vinyl in place on the tumbler with one hand and using my other hand to try and peel the vinyl and then cut the paper backing. Yeah, it doesn't need to be this hard, but I was determined to keep this straight. So now that I've cut a small piece of the paper backing off, I'm going to use my thumb to burnish the vinyl onto the tumbler. This is called the hinge method because once you get the starting point of the vinyl on the tumbler, it provides the pathway to applying the rest of it. After making sure my vinyl lines up, I'm gonna take my squeegee and finish burnishing the rest of the vinyl onto the cup. Once I have my vinyl applied, I take my thumb and just go around the cup and make sure that all parts of the vinyl are adhered to the cup. Moving on to my favorite part, I am taking my painter's tape and I am tracing along the patterned vinyl. You'll see that I'm using my finger to really make sure that the painter's tape is sticking to the vinyl. Painter's tape is protecting the vinyl from my glue and glitter. And I'm going to repeat this process on both sides of the vinyl. My vinyl didn't match up exactly, but I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to fix it. You're going to take your X-Acto knife and trace along the painter's tape so your vinyl is even. I examined the cup to see if there's any other areas that I can touch up, and I found another one at the bottom. So we're going to repeat this process. After examining everything, I'm ready to move on to my favorite part. I'll be using this Cauldron Color in shade Psychic by Adhesive Apothecary. Cauldron Colors are a 3-in-1, paint, primer, and adhesive. Cauldron Colors are a staple product in my shop. After painting my tumbler, I can go directly over it with my glitter. And just look at this pigment. Did you just see that? Yeah, I don't mess around. I'm not wasting my Cauldron Colors. I was gonna use my brush at first, but I ended up using my finger. The brush would have absorbed the paint and I wasn't trying to paint the paper, so I picked up as much as I could with my finger and just wiped it on the tumbler. I finished painting the booty, and then we're gonna move on to my favorite part, the glitter. Oh my lord, Psychic is such a beautiful color. My choice of glitter is Leela by TheGlitterGuy. This glitter is absolutely stunning. It is purple, but it has a blue sparkle. The camera just doesn't do it justice. I generously glitter my tumbler. I do like to go back over the glittered areas just to make sure that I have full coverage. Look how absolutely stunning! Now that I'm done glittering, I'm going to peel off the painter's tape. And you want to do this while it's wet. Don't forget that you are working with an adhesive. So any areas that you painted outside of the lines and onto that painter's tape, if you try to remove this when it's dry, you will pull up chunks of your glittered area. And we don't want that. So just make sure once you're done glittering to remove your painter's tape. Dang girl, look at them crisp lines. Look how beautiful this is. Tell me Leela is not a breathtaking purple glitter. Don't tell me that, I will cry. Chef's kiss, look at that seam. I am just in awe over Leela. It pairs perfectly with this vinyl. After setting that off to the side and allowing it to dry, I'm going to seal my glitter. So I'm using Binding Potion from Adhesive Apothecary. I'm going to dry brush my tumbler. Dry brushing removes any excess glitter that did not adhere to the cup. This helps prevent any of those glitter stragglers from landing in unwanted areas. Now, Binding Potion is a water-based product, so you can actually use your finger or a brush. I want to be precise and make sure that I don't get glitter on my vinyl, so I will be using a brush. My brush is also from Adhesive Apothecary. I go around the tumbler applying the Binding Potion where the glitter meets the vinyl. For this cup, I'm wanting to avoid getting glitter on my vinyl, so I am just carefully pushing my product away from the vinyl and generously coating the glittered areas. I accidentally applied too much Binding Potion, so I just grabbed a napkin and I would start wiping the excess Binding Potion off onto the napkin. And I can't make this up if I tried. What is that? What is that? It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. After getting my coat nice and even and allowing that to dry, I went in with my first layer of epoxy. I did not record this, but I use Project Epoxy by TheGlitterGuy. Now I would like to clean up my rim, so I'm going to be using this Dremel Lite and this medium grit sanding block. I carefully go around the rim and make sure that it's nice and even. Then I take my sanding block and make sure that it's nice and smooth. Once I'm satisfied with the rim, I move on to sanding the rest of the tumbler. You'll see that I take my finger and I feel for any imperfections that I can sand and make smooth. Now that my tumbler is nice and smooth, I'm going to spray it with my 70% isopropyl alcohol and wipe it down. Make sure your tumbler is thoroughly dry before moving on to this next step. I'll be adding the decal and some pinstriping. For the pinstriping, I chose color coordinating colors, this deep teal and white. I cut these pinstripes out on my Cricut. The deep teal is width 0.15 and height 10 inches. I like to start my pinstriping at the seam where the vinyl meets, that way all my seams are in the same place. I very carefully try to place the pinstriping directly in the middle where the vinyl and glitter meet. And I wish I was joking, but my vinyl is not long enough. It does not meet, it does not reach all the way around the cup. I desperately lift it back up and try to stretch it to see if I could force it to meet, and it just doesn't line up. It's just too short. So I'm going to remove this and re-cut out my pinstriping. Now that I have those recut, the correct measurements for the deep teal is width 0.15 inches by 11, and for the white I did width 0.0369 by 11. And now I try pinstriping the tumbler again. I try finding the seam of the vinyl, and gosh dang it, I'm just so dang good I couldn't even find the seam. Ah, there it is. So again, I'm just placing the vinyl where the glitter and vinyl meet and repeating the process. And 11 inches was the correct number because now I have some overlapping, which is perfect. I'm going to trim the overlapping with my X-Acto knife, cutting along the seam so all my seams are in one spot. Same idea with the pinstriping, you do want a little bit of overlap, but not a large overlap. And that's perfect, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to repeat the process on the bottom part. I swear I go cross-eyed. Sometimes I need to pick the cup up and make sure that it's applying straight. The best part about working with vinyl is that you can always lift it up and reposition it if necessary. Now moving on to the white pinstriping, I'm going to layer the white on top of the deep teal. This is why I cut the teal out at a larger scale, because I am using that as an offset for the white pinstriping. And it's the same process, so I'm just placing the white pinstriping as center as possible over the deep teal. And I repeat the process on the bottom. Now that I have that done, I quickly examine it and make sure that I'm satisfied with how it came out, and I am. So now I'm going to move on to applying my decal. I like to find the seam and face that away from me and place the decal directly on the opposite side of the seam. I'm going to grab my handy dandy cup cradle and prop my cup up so I can apply my decal. I just eyeball it and make sure that it's as center as possible. I'll be using the hinge method to apply my decal. Same concept, you're going to peel part of the decal up and remove some of this paper backing. The best part about this decal being a rectangle is that it makes it really convenient and easy to line it up with the rim so I can apply it straight. Here, I'm just eyeballing it to make sure that it's as even as possible. Once I'm satisfied, I burnish that top area with my thumb, and then I remove the paper backing and finish applying the rest of the decal. I do take my time and work slow and cautiously to make sure that I get the most perfect application. Sometimes if you work too fast, you can cause air bubbles, so I just take my thumb and I burnish it. I like to push down the middle and outward, and that technique will also help prevent air bubbles. Now that I have that applied, I'm just examining it to make sure that I'm happy with the results, and so far, she's coming together perfectly. After my vinyl and decal, I'm going to go in with binding potion once again, and I'm going to seal my decal and my pinstriping. Binding potion is hands down the best sealer on the market. It's made to seal your glitter, vinyl, pinstriping, decals, your broken heart. I love using binding potion when doing my pinstriping because this ensures that I will have no lifting. This stuff is liquid cement in a bottle, but don't fret, it is water-based, so if you ever need to remove it, water will do the trick. Earlier I mentioned that you can use a brush or your finger to apply your binding potion. You'll see here that I chose to use my finger. After I've applied a generous coat to my pinstriping, I move on to sealing my decal. After I've allowed that to dry, I went in with another coat of epoxy. And so far, this is how she's looking. I am really happy with the results. It is so shiny. Project Epoxy is the best. Let's go ahead and add my branding sticker. My branding stickers include my business logo and care instructions. Hand wash only, do not soak, not dishwasher or microwave safe, and do not drop. I see here that I have a couple bumps, so I'm going to go back in with this medium grit sanding block and sand those out. Same concept when applying your branding sticker, you do want to apply it to a smooth surface. And while I have my sanding block out, I did feel a couple rough spots around the rim, so I just went ahead and touched those up. Now is the time to make any final touches to your cup before you apply your last coat of epoxy. Smooth as butter. Once I'm done sanding, I'm going to spray it with my isopropyl alcohol and wipe her down nice and thoroughly. I usually like to take my hand and feel around the cup because sometimes you can catch more bumps that way, and I did find another bump, so I'm just going to sand that one out really fast. And once I'm done, I'll spray it again and wipe it down. Now that I'm finally ready to apply my branding sticker, I like to face the decal towards me because usually when you're drinking from your cup, you want the decal facing away from you. So when you're sipping or drinking from your cup, my branding logo will face the person that you're facing. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, and just, let me live in my Delulu. That's the Salulu, okay? Once you get your branding sticker on there, you're gonna go ahead and apply your last coat of epoxy. Da 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 da, and here she is. Oh my god, she's perfect. She is so pretty. And a moment of silence for Project Epoxy. Look at that glitter guy shine. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. I plan to do a weekly upload. Come join me on my other platforms, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.